Mute, okay.
All right, so I would like to officially call this meeting of the Georgia Select Board to order. Would anybody be willing to make a motion for that? Or is that
We don't.
not, we don't usually motion into order? And so as we start things up, I would like to first start us off by asking if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we will move into today's business. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Mr. Chair, if I could make a request that we give a minute of silence in memory of the 6 people lost in Nashville, Tennessee, sometime today.
I'm sorry to hear that that number went up. And so, yes, if you would please join me in just a moment of silence.
I can't hear you.
We just ended a moment of silence for the people in Nashville, Tennessee, who lost their lives. It was a school.
I don't know if
shooting.
I'm the only one, but I cannot hear you.
Ken, can you hear me? Ken?
He's
No.
muted.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Dale, do you have your, it might be that you currently have your audio set to a different device. Oh, she can't hear me.
Yeah.
Is there a way to type?
If you can work with her on that, we have well, I don't know if you can work with her on that and Alice move on to the business as well.
We're gonna say, check your device settings.
So we'll try to stay in touch with Dale as she tries to figure things out. Our first moment, order of business is the liquor licenses. And so
I didn't see anything in here for Dollar General.
They still haven't sent me anything, so we'll end up probably having to have one more liquor meeting.
all right, and so, would anybody like to make a motion to start up discussion on the liquor license?
I move we approve the liquor licenses for Georgia Market and RL Valley.
Is anybody second?
I said.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Right?
Aye. All right,
Okay, so now we close out this meeting and then we open up that meeting.
all right, and therefore we can conclude the meeting for the liquor license of the here for the town of Georgia.
We'll have to come back for the Dollar General. one
Yes.
At this point, okay.
And so I would now like to call to order our select board meeting for the town of Georgia, March 27th. And we are 5 minutes early. And so this is where we will be entering into executive session. I would like to make a motion to move up executive session to the beginning of the agenda.
Yeah, I'm not seeing,
We're not seeing our folks here
right, so we can change around the agenda a little bit until Marilyn
until
gets in.
Marilyn shows up. That makes sense to me.
Who's Dale goes? Is that an attorney? Is that?
No.
No, Dale is a community member.
Oh, okay.
And so let's see, what is first?
Okay, so do we want to do Bill Hinman
Yes,
first with this contract? So, okay, so we're gonna adjourn into executive session.
Sorry.
We're going into executive session, Ken. We'll be back.
Copy that.
Are we baking?
I'm back.
Hey, Dale,
Hi, how are you?
you able to hear us now?
I can, you were attached to my headphones before and that's why I couldn't hear you.
She's making.
So while we're passing, no, I should wait till she's here to take notes. All right, shall we start off with the chair update?
Where are my headphones? Are they over there? Never mind, I found them.
But what if you were the muted?
No, rock it out.
Where are we? Let 'em go.
Turn that off.
Jeanette and Dale, could you mute for me, please?
I'm here.
Well.
I couldn't figure out if you were spelling executive session or not.
There we go.
Okay.
You can throw me out.
Okay, so let's. I don't know who this is. Don Penny.
dishes.
Okay. No. Okay, you can go ahead, I'll just jot down.
Okay, as far as the chair update goes, we received, less than a week ago, a notice that a member of the select board, Carolyn Brannigan, had stepped down. We, have put out a notice to the community that the position is open and we are starting to receive applications. The process through which we would like to propose, we will be discussing here tonight. And that's kind of all I have to present on that. Do you have any questions?
Do we have a candidate here to present themselves tonight?
Do we have more than one candidate here at the moment?
I thought we only had one.
We only have one.
We just got a second one today,
We had a second.
later today.
So we will hear out all candidates, just not here tonight. Yes,
Is there a cutoff date on the selection of candidates? Are you going to allow a week, 2 weeks or something, or?
so tonight we will discuss the process that we would like to propose. The community could overrule us with a petition. But not, if that is not what happens, then we will lay out our proposed way path forward. We'll submit that to the community. And that will include a cutoff date.
So didn't we already do that until 4 o'clock this afternoon?
Yeah, I thought, doesn't it say it on the?
On the
Letter.
website, we put
it was
letters
the
of interest,
27th.
until
Yeah.
Till
tonight, yeah.
So I think that what we should do is discuss whether or not we want to extend that. But until then, that's what we put up, and that's what we're going with.
Can you send that second?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to apply who wants to.
Yeah,
I don't want people to assume that we are setting a narrow window So that people don't get the opportunity to, step up.
Absolutely.
But we did set a deadline. That's my recollection.
Yeah.
We sent out a, letter that the Vermont League of Cities and Towns suggested, had recommended. And so, we can, since it's like the ND, we can make adjustments if we need to. Yes, Nick,
You did say that you will be discussing what that process will look like.
yes, that is in the agenda.
Thank you.
And so, do we have any other questions?
So we're gonna have that, discuss the process now or at some other time?
If you want to, we're going to try to get through as much of this agenda as we can. Currently, we have. Oh geez, is that another one of those executive session things?
Okay.
Candidates for open positions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
that's-
executive
yeah.
session. That's the front side.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the place where we would be discussing going forward with the. Oh, I guess this is it.
Okay.
This is it. This is where we discuss it. So, yes, so going forward with this process. I would. I guess does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask in regards to, or any statements that you would like to make in regards to how you would like to move forward? I've already expressed a few things that I would like to see in the process.
I guess I would just revisit what we'd already published and go forward with that. But I think what you're essentially saying is we should reopen that
I think so.
request window. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that we should at least extend the request window to the next meeting. And where we should decide.
So I'm posting the announcement again. And
Spending
Do we-
the time.
extending it to have all letters in by April 10th. Is that correct?
That doesn't really tell us what your process is. You're talking about extending your motion. What's the motion and what's the timing on this?
Okay, that's a good question. I think that the timing, to answer that question, my proposal would be that we extend the timing for requests to the next session. Where we will make this, and the process is that the select board will appoint somebody. So we will hear from candidates, and then we will make an appointment to the select board.
I think, when we were first presented with this, some things that I thought about was obviously that we'd want the town to be able to voice their opinions. The concern with an election is the cost, and it's a time-consuming, costly process. And I had only known of one candidate going into this meeting. And so I was under the impression that that was just going to be it. And so I think that, I guess my question is, do you specifically have any suggestions on how we should do this? I'd like to hear if somebody has a better idea, if that's okay with the board.
I'd like to see it interviewed in an open meeting so the people of the town can understand what's going on.
Okay.
What type of person that there is, and then maybe have a period where the town people can express an opinion at least, or
Through a meeting, an open meeting?
could be an open meeting, could be a meet the candidate night or whatever it is, and but
Well, again, I'm pretty new to this process myself, because I was appointed just a few months ago, well, almost 8 months ago now, I guess, but anyway, what we've done in the past, is my understanding, and what we did recently was the candidates came forward, expressed the desire to be considered, and then we interviewed them in open session, as far as I recall. I know I came to a meeting in May, and then as I said, the board made a decision on who who to do, who to
Point.
appoint. And, you know, I think our problem tonight is that there are probably people in the audience here now that expected this was gonna happen tonight because of the way the agenda is and because of the timing that we talked about before, but it ended at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I know we have one candidate here, but who was probably intending to give his little spiel of why he wants to be on the board. But anyway, just my thought that for some reason, we're extending this now, we're talking about new process, whatever. I thought that was the process. So, and what Shannon expressed here is that she thought that's the way it was gonna go too. We had one candidate and we hear what that candidate had to say, and if we felt so moved, we'd appoint that candidate.
I think that's a perfectly good point. Frank?
Would a candidate panel change what the select board decides?
I think it could have an influence.
I mean, I would expect the candidates to, speak to you before you make a decision, obviously, but I mean, a candidate panel to the town residents, would that make a difference?
What do y'all, I mean, I can speak to myself. I definitely would weigh it. I don't know if it would necessarily change my opinion.
Right, because I mean, it almost sounds like a mini informal election, no weight whatsoever.
Yeah,
Sorry, I missed that. Okay. What was that?
it sounds, if we had an open discussion, if we had an open panel, it sounds almost like doing an election.
Yeah, I mean. the
Yes,
board has-
and was it Todd?
Tony,
Tony,
the school board has an ad in the current messenger, vacancy, school board. Applications appreciated, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Pick a few from them, maybe, I don't know, but that's what they're doing right now.
yeah,
The same situation, there's a vacancy between elections and they opted to advertise it.
and they're gonna appoint.
And they're going to appoint, did he just?
Yeah, they're going to appoint,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're opening it up to
Yeah, hold
vote.
another election.
And honestly, I think that the reason that Carolyn chose to resign after the election was because she was expecting the select board to appoint. So,
You will still be appointed.
I don't think I'd assume anything.
you don't
Yeah.
think, yeah, well, okay, you know what they say about assumptions. Yes, Susanna,
So the ad did say that the letters had to be in today at 4:30 or whatever time it said, but it didn't say that you were interviewing candidates. And based on the fact that your meeting started 2+ hours after it was warned to start, and there could be a lot of people that thought they were going to be hearing from the candidates that have given up by now.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure you told the candidates that they had an option to speak to you, so perhaps you could just take your 2 candidates and ask them to speak at your next board meeting. It could be open, so everybody can hear it.
Mhm.
Including the people that maybe have given up on Zoom at this point, and choose from there. But I don't think having a separate meeting for the public is necessary.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have your name down yet.
Heather.
Heather, and then was there a hand over here before I go to Frank? Okay,
So what would it hurt to open it back up to the next meeting? Would it hurt anything? I mean, if we get more candidates, is that a bad thing?
I don't think so. I think that, I mean, Carl's pointing out that an expectation was laid down, and maybe it would be unfair for us to change that expectation. I am saying that, despite the expectation, it was a very narrow window. It might be fair to open things up a little bit more.
I move that we extend the opportunity for an application to 4 o'clock on the 17th. That's our next meeting, correct? Okay.
Would anybody like to second that? Well, before we do that, I mean, would anybody who had their hand up like to speak first? Yes,
Confused, because at the informal meeting that we had at the fire department, we were told that there was going to be a special election in May because of a misprint on the ballot. Now I'm hearing it's going to cost more to have a special election. If we have multiple candidates, why can't we have them on that same ballot for the special election that we're already gonna be paying for anyways?
Because we're doing it, it's not gonna be a huge over at the gym election for the thing on the ballot. It's just ratifying the warning. So there's gonna be a notice, it'll be going out, but all the voting is just gonna come through here at the office. We're not printing up ballots from a printing company. We can just make them up ourselves.
but we're also talking about the open select board position.
Right.
Which was vacated
Which was
after.
vacated after that. And the way in which that is traditionally filled is different.
Okay.
I believe, what is it 5-10% of our voters, if there was a petition that was filled, then if I'm requesting an election,
Okay.
then that is what we need to do.
Mhm.
But otherwise, the expectation is that the select board will interview and appoint somebody to the free
That's
position.
fair, thanks.
If it's okay, Frank, I'm sorry, I don't have your name.
Carl, I think the next meeting is on the 10th.
I'm sorry, you're right, okay, so
Yeah, I put it on.
anyway, the motion didn't carry anyway, so, okay, as far as I know, unless we're in discussion.
We're not in discussion. It wasn't even seconded yet. I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to talk. Frank, would you like to say anything else?
I'm all set.
All right, yes.
Question, the candidates, you say you have two candidates that are up, or is that like they're secret, or we can have names or? not?
Well, currently we have it in executive session. I think that if the candidates are okay with that, we could.
Yeah, the other one didn't come in till late this afternoon.
Yeah,
That's why
and
didn't get it.
I do think that that's grounds another reason why it might be good to extend the process a little bit. But we do have a candidate who would like to present, and again, I think it comes down to expectations. Currently, it has in the agenda that it is an executive session, so if they're expecting to present and have that not be viewed by everybody, I think that we should take that into consideration. If they're okay with it being public, then I think then we can make a motion to change the way that we have it in the agenda. Yes.
Why would that be grounds for executive session? It's not a contract,
Yeah.
it's not.
I
hiring.
don't think I put it in executive session.
No, it wasn't there.
It's
Not
not
where it says candidates for open position.
candidates for open
Yeah,
position.
but that, I don't think.
That- you think
That's
that's different?
Different.
That's
that
for
was
a
other
different
stuff.
job.
Okay, that was-
Okay, then I apologize. That's my, yes.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just put it out in the open. I'm actually one of the candidates. I am currently on the planning commission. I've been for just under a year. I have submitted my letter of interest for the select board. I am absolutely okay with you extending it. I think that is very fair. I think you should absolutely get as many interested people as possible. Ultimately, do your interview, whether it be in public session or in private, is absolutely your choice. But the more candidates, the better. You'll get a better end result.
Thank you, Nick. It sounds like I was misreading the agenda. And if Nick wants to stick around and present, it sounds like you're okay with doing that. Yes.
Why would there be any reason to do your interviewing in a private session, since this person is going to be
Tony, it's
representing
different.
taxpayers of
We're
the
not.
town? Shouldn't we know the information?
Personally, I don't see any reason. When I was reading through the agenda, it says candidates for open positions under executive session. For some reason, I thought it was listed there. Apparently, it's different candidates for different open positions.
That's a different job.
So that's I'll own that as a mistake on my part.
It's hard because I thought you said just a second ago, whether it be in private or in public session.
I did, because I'm misreading the agenda.
Yeah, it's going to be in public.
So it will be in public. Yes, Carl.
So can I make another motion?
Yes.
I move that we open the search for candidates for the select board position until 4 o'clock on the afternoon of the 10th of April.
Do we have a second?
Can I add
Oh,
on?
yes.
And that we would have the members present at that meeting.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that.
Discussion, would we also want to make the choice at that meeting or?
I think we should.
Okay, and so we will also make our decision on filling the position at that meeting as well. So do we have any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, then with the good grace of the community, we will make this decision at our next meeting. Of course,
Like we did the last time.
we actually did, it's just that it was before, but unfortunately you weren't with us.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, we are on approval of the minutes in the warrants. The minutes that are up for approval are the ones that we didn't ratify from the last meeting. I believe is also the minutes from our last meeting as well. Am I correct?
So we have the ones from the 27th that Shannon had asked us to bring back. Watch the video. I cannot find that phrase
Okay,
anywhere in the video.
Okay.
So those would just be,
and did we clarify if we were able to approve those minutes since we weren't? It was, right, that was the discussion, it was just Carl and Carolyn that were at that meeting, and so it was a confusion about whether or not we could approve those minutes.
I think we have the ability.
We can, okay.
you can
So then we'll
approve
do that.
them, knowing you're approving any actions that were taken and that the work was done, but you're not approving like things that were said, according to the attorney.
Okay,
So you can approve them knowing that actions were taken and followed through with.
I move we approve the minutes from February 27th as presented.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so approval of our warrants. Have
Well,
you?
we have
We
the
have
other meeting.
minutes from the 13th.
13th.
Oh, so, okay, we're not doing them all in a bundle. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the 13th of this month?
I have actually one change that needs to go in those, and that is to add Christina Senna to the public present in the Zoom meeting. Her name was
Okay,
omitted out of there, so.
and so I guess the motion would be to, well, can we approve the minutes until those,
You can.
including those changes?
So you would approve them, including the change of Christine Senna to the.
Yeah. Or-
Can I just get a clarification on one on the second page? 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth paragraph down. This motion made to select board representatives to the Georgia Industrial Development Corporation for 1-year terms. And so it talks about the 2 select board members, but we didn't have to appoint because Ken Henderson was actually elected. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Ken Henderson is the other member of the Georgia Industrial Development Corporation, correct?
Yes, and we will be ratifying all those appointments that were made last time, just so down the road.
We don't have to make the change there then. I move approval with the changes that were recommended of the meeting of March 13th.
Do we have-
just have one comment on the appointments to the Conservation Commission? Annette and Tom are alternates.
Yes, we have that going in for the ratification.
You have that correct?
They'll be corrected when we go to ratify all of them.
Okay.
And so, did you complete your motion there?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're on the warrants. Have you had the opportunity to go over those?
So I went over them with Amber, who is not here. And did she say there was supposed to be corrections?
She gave corrections, yes, Bonnie handed me this, today and emailed it all to you.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody got emailed this copy. So yes, whatever was supposed to be added or deleted. did take place.
Okay, so I mean, I'm,
So, yes, I saw that email too, that she said that there were certain, was it payroll things that needed to be added?
let me see.
I thought that was about the financial, you said.
She did send financials.
She did, right, okay. That was the last email I saw from her, was about the financial.
Well, Bonnie
Another-
sent,
Okay,
the warrant.
So if we got a incomplete warrant, are we able to approve that?
So you don't know, this is a corrected warrant. So
Okay,
it's all set.
we have
So
the corrected one.
You have the correct, I have the corrected one here for everybody to sign.
All right, and
And you guys got
Jamie, you had the
emailed
opportunity to go over that.
Yeah, I'm confident in that.
Confident? Okay.
Yeah,
And so do we have a motion to approve the corrected warrant that was sent to us?
I think is he making that motion? Because
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, that would make sense. Do we have a second?
I said.
All in favor?
Alright,
All right. All right, we have a time for public comments. Frank,
Well, I get that there's a total exemption for the amount of time that you have to post minutes. That exemption is getting kind of stale recently. I'd really like to see the minutes posted within 5 days rather than 10, if possible.
I think that's,
Minutes were posted.
I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know if it was this time or not.
They've been posted.
If that's the case, then that's awesome, but it's just for the last, 3 years, it's been 10 days. Rather than the 5 mandated by state law.
I think that is an appropriate criticism and we will definitely try to.
in the wrong place.
Once there's a select board clerk, then that's one of the tasks that person takes on.
Yes, I need to remember your name.
Brent,
Brett.
I thought minutes were supposed to be available for viewing, not necessarily posted in 5 days. Did they change it? So we have to post them in 5 days?
They're on the website
I know, but I'm just saying,
for the
I
draft.
thought they were supposed to be available for viewing. I thought that was.
I thought the actual law stated that they have to be on the website, and they even used the word website, which I thought was weird, within 5 calendar days.
Was I missing somebody over here? All right, yes,
I have another question, and I know it's everyone's favorite topic, but I went to the pool today and I asked what the process was for getting the Georgia rates, and they said, don't know, haven't heard anything. You're the one that told us it got approved at the town.
it got approved with the budget and we have money set aside to send, Shannon, have you had an opportunity yet to look into that? Or was it because Carolyn was on the ARPA?
So Carolyn is currently the ARPA administrator, I believe is the term. We have to go through the process of reappointing someone, right? Because she's the only one that had the login. No.
No, this has nothing. to-
Oh, sorry, cool. So what I'd like to do, it's kind of difficult because I was under the impression that I was not allowed to talk to the board outside of this type of setting. I'm now learning that that's not true. So I have met with people, including Bridget, about some ideas in terms of the rec director / grant writer. And I don't know if this is the appropriate time to address that, but some ideas would be, I'm going to get to the pool specifically, but the idea would be to have a committee of the public, Bridget, a select board member, to figure out things like the pool access, rewriting the rec director / grant writer position, because I think that what we have found out is that some of the wording in the rec director compensation is not approved for ARPA. So Bridget had a great idea about not only having the money set aside for the pool, but also having pool passes that the library would hold, just like we have the Echo Pass and other availabilities that that anybody can take out on any day, that we'd have certain number of family passes at the library. Is that answering your question
No.
at all? Okay, can you you specifically,
Discounted rate.
If you have the
Yeah.
discounted rate.
yeah,
So if you have a family and you decide on Sunday morning that you want to take the kids to
Yes.
the pool's, the library's closed, town clerk's closed.
mhm. Yes,
What do you
so,
do?
yeah,
It's
so.
like, oh, you can use the pool any day, but if the offices are closed, you can't use
So,
it.
sorry, so the idea, sorry, you're right, about each person's family pass or individual pass. So an idea that Bridget and I had would be to, when somebody's ready to take out their pass for the year, they would go to the library, they would get their own card that they would have. They would then bring that card to the pool. They would present their pool pass and their license, or some Georgia resident.
License doesn't do it.
Yeah, right, because, yeah. So a way to prove that they're a Georgia resident and their pool pass, and then that's their way to get to the pool. That way we're addressing the issue of people saying they're from Georgia, but not being from Georgia. And
Why wouldn't the pool pass work if you got it, if you guys made it? Why wouldn't it work instead of having? to-
well, they were just thinking of somebody giving their pool pass to somebody else.
Carl,
I just like to separate these issues. That's the thing about the rec director and job description, that's a separate issue.
Mhm.
What we're looking at right now, her question is, how are we spending that $18,000 that we set aside specifically in the budget
Mhm.
to pay for
The pool.
money for the pool?
Mhm.
And some of the issues that I understood that somebody was working on, okay. And probably because we've had so many changes, this has probably fallen through the cracks. But certain issues had to be decided as to how we equitably distribute that money. Because I'm hearing an annual pass for something, that's obviously a lot of money. That would eat up a good portion of the $18,000. So I don't think that is something that we need somebody to come up with guardrails around how people are awarded a pass, okay?
Mhm.
They're a citizen of Georgia, obviously, but there has to be some other equitable way of distributing that money to try to use before all the money runs out.
To try to-
$18,000, okay, all right?
to try to answer the question in as clear way that I can understand. We have the money set aside. We have some questions that we need to address about making sure that the money is used as intended. But for the moment, the intention is to use the money as planned.
For the
Okay.
pool, that was the one thing that we decided, whether it would be pool
But
related.
when does it start?
I heard April 1st.
Yeah, wait, it's
Okay.
supposed to start on April.
So,
1st.
okay, so April 1st, I go there.
Mhm.
I say I'm a resident of Georgia. What do I do?
Mhm.
How do I prove that to them to get
Mhm.
the city rate?
That's what was supposed to be worked out.
Yeah.
By some committee.
So,
I'd
don't
like
know
to,
why.
yeah.
The city of St. Albans have that same issue with people that live in the town.
Mhm.
They resolved it by having the city residents go to the city hall and getting a resident card,
Mhm.
rather than recreating the wheel.
Yeah, that was.
That should be
discussed.
something that you could look into. I don't know if it would work here, but it's already working in St. Albans city. Maybe it's something you could just piggyback on and not have to.
Easiest solution, often is the right one.
That's what
Because
Carolyn
I
had
like
Yes.
St. Albans border. I don't want to drive to the library and then go back to the pool and then go back to the.
Well, you don't
library
have to
and
go
drop
back.
it off.
No, you would have, and when I say annual pass, I'm just saying that like, you would only have to get your card once a year, and every time you go, you pay.
They don't have annual passes. They only have quarterlies.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, just saying that, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with,
Okay.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying that you have that card and then some way to prove that you're a Georgia resident, because I think that was another person's worry, was that other people were getting this discounted rate, but not one of our taxpayers. So that was Bridget and I's way to fix this issue is that you'd get a card that you say, I can use this pass
Got it.
for a discounted rate, and here is my way to prove that I am a Georgia resident.
Okay,
Yes, you had a question.
You can't do that at the library. It would have to be done here at the town clerk's office. The librarian doesn't know every resident of Georgia, so it would have to be here.
Okay,
And the card should actually say the name of the person and any members of her family that are also Georgia residents. And then that would cover them. Then they couldn't bring 10 kids from another for a birthday party or something with them that came from another town and stuff. But you'd have the name of the families, both parents and any children in that family on that card, and then they could just show a driver's license to prove that's who they are.
okay. My only thought about
Fred?
using the
Oh, sorry.
library, sorry, my only thought was about using the library, that they already have a card system, but I'm more than happy to pass this off to the office.
I hate to give anything to the office, but the library doesn't necessarily know if you're a town resident.
We can also talk to Bridget and see what their capacity is.
Actually, we do make sure that folks are town residents before we
Yeah.
give them library cards.
Also,
What was
Yeah.
that, Bridget?
We do make sure that folks are residents before we give out library cards.
Okay. Thank you. Fred, did I get that right?
I'm a little confused why town spending would be part of the librarian's job or purview.
I think it would just be, from what I'm hearing, it is just confirming a townsperson's identity.
But I would think that'd be the town office's job, not the librarian who works for the trustee of the library, who really has the town has no jurisdiction over the librarian, so I don't know why the librarian would have much input in coming up with a program other than suggestions, and I don't know why the town would go without that.
Carl, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the issue we're having here is that something that was assigned to one of our subcommittees, and then, of course, the election happened and the subcommittees have sort of fallen apart or haven't been reinstated or won't be reinstated, I'm not sure which, but anyway, I think we need to assign this to a couple of members of the board here to put the guardrails around this thing. And a system we set up may be only a temporary system until such time as we have a rec director and a rec department, if you will, that presumably would handle this in the future. That's my personal feeling. But right now, to answer this young person's issue, okay, and
thanks, Carl. I'm not young, but thank you.
we need to get some people together and set up at least a temporary policy and going
Or
forward, so we can get these things started, okay? We're obviously not gonna probably meet April 1st, okay, because that's Monday, I guess, isn't it, or something,
Yeah.
but for this, yeah, so. Anyway, that's my suggestion,
We can do that when we go into subcommittee action. But do we have any other public statements that anybody would like to make? Yes.
The pool money is going to be used just for pool this time, right?
Correct.
Not
Yes.
for camps, for people's kids to go to camp.
correct,
I think
that was,
That happened
Yeah,
last year. and it
yeah,
should not have happened.
that was the decision that was
Yeah,
made by
okay,
the board.
thank you,
Okay.
because I'm not paying for somebody else's kids.
Well, hopefully it'll also make it so that the discount goes a little longer.
And that would be nice. Well, that was the reason, is because kids go to camp.
Is there a total number that ended up getting spent on the year?
I don't have that number. My answer to that is I don't. know.
21,000 at the informational meeting. It went over the 18 by a fair bit.
Any other comments?
Yeah, a very small portion. And they were allowed to because the money was allowed for that last year.
All right, so I want to make sure that I got everybody. Let us move on to, we do correspondence, number 5. A letter from Martha, Beckard regarding. Echard, thank you, regarding the minutes.
So do you want the letter? Do you want me to read the letter?
Please.
Martha just said during the 3/13/23 select board meeting, there was a lot of conversation about minutes and what should be included in them and what should be excluded from them. When I was hired to write these minutes, I looked back at previous minutes from other minute takers and tried to pattern my minutes after what the boards had before. After the discussion of the select board meetings, I decided it was time to see what Robert's rules said about meeting minutes. I should have done this when I was first hired, and I take full responsibility for my minutes. These minutes and any minutes I write going forward, following Robert's rules, state that meeting minutes should include what was done, but never what was said, and therefore include kind of meeting, name of organization or assembly, date, time, and place, who attended the meeting, whether minutes of previous meetings were read and approved or approved as corrected, reports, motions, votes, notices of motions, points of order and appeals, upcoming meetings, if any, time of adjournment, signature of the minute preparer. Minutes according to Robert's rules should never include what was said or any opinions. Robert rules also state the minutes are generally done in paragraph form, but if the board follows an agenda that is acceptable to write minutes that follow the outline of the agenda, which is how I have chosen to write these minutes. I, of course, encourage all boards to educate themselves on Robert's rules. Sincerely, Martha B. Sharp.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any comments on the correspondence?
Sounds like a reasonable thing to do.
Suzanne?
I don't want to argue, and I know we're running out, but this board has not said that they're following Robert's Rules of Order. Town boards only have to follow parliamentary procedure, which we tend to lean toward Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the only requirement is to list attendees and there's no other legal requirement.
Motion.
Right, motions.
So yeah, you can cut them down to almost nothing, but I don't think the townspeople will
Appreciate that.
appreciate it.
I just got messages from like 3 different people that said, oh, great, now we're gonna have less information in our town, in our meeting minutes. That doesn't sound great, so.
Okay. Criticism heard. And so do we have any other comments on the correspondence? Not, let us move on to item number 6, board business. Public comments on agenda items are limited to 5 minutes. Item A on the business is ratifying all appointments for the 3/13 meeting and add Larry Martell to the DRB.
So we need to ratify the minutes as, or the appointments, as we stated last time, with changes of, we need to nominate Larry Martell as a DRB alternate. I don't know if we want to start with
Yeah, I
that.
believe, Susanna, we also had some other. Did you have a
Planning person.
planning person? I believe that there was somebody else that we wanted to add there that came after the agenda was already posted. Do we want to add that to the motion, Susanna?
Or you can do them separately, one's DRB and one's planning.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's what we'll do.
I move we add Larry Martell as an alternate to the DRB
For 1 year.
For 1 year.
for 1 year.
Do you have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Okay, then we need to make a motion to appoint one person, you said, Susanna, to the planning commission for a 1 year term. Who is the?
Emily Johnson.
is she, did she agree to that?
Yes.
Does,
1 year, because it's a 4-year term, but she's only being appointed until the next election.
understood. Would
What's
anybody
her
like to
name
make a
again?
motion?
Emily
Emily
Johnson.
Would anybody care to make a motion to appoint Emily Johnson to the planning committee for a 1 year, for 1 year?
Planning commission.
Commission, thank you. Commission for 1 year?
Did it go in like the website saying that there was an opening in that position? I mean,
It's open on the ballot.
right, if it was open on the ballot, but nobody got put into that position, was it put out on the website or anything else that this position was open?
Was it supposed, I mean, is that a normal procedure when an open position like that opens up?
Could appear like it is.
It would be transparent if it was.
Certainly.
It's a 5-member board and we struggle to get enough people there sometimes. And in my opinion, if you saw that it was open on the ballot, you would know that there was an opening, but it was not posted on
Is it a legal requirement? Then
So is transparency a legal requirement? I mean, my goodness, people.
did you want a position?
I think it should be advertised.
Okay.
Because just because it was open on the ballot doesn't mean people don't know that nobody was elected to it or whatever, and that you're going to appoint it.
All right, well,
I move that we advertise the vacancy on the planning.
okay, full motion has been made. Would somebody like a second?
I second that.
All right, discussion?
How long are we, sorry, how long are we gonna post it?
No question.
A month?
To the tenth?
My motion to include a
And
month.
then the planning commission will have time, well.
Well, I think that we should consider how long the planning commission can, how inconvenient it will be for the planning
Yeah.
commission to have an empty seat.
Yeah,
Well, we have 2 meetings between now and the 10th, so if we could make it shorter than that, that'd be great, but you aren't meeting until the 10th, so you can't appoint them. until
Right.
then.
That's true. So to the tenth.
Mhm.
All right, so the motion has,
If you do it until the 10th, then planning commission can't vet the people.
so you would be okay for us maybe doing it the meeting after?
No.
No, before.
Before?
The second would be. The planning commission generally decides who they put on their board from the people that are.
What should we say, the advertisement for this position would be received by 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the 10th?
Not until April 11th.
or,
Is there any planning? Okay, so the 10th.
so the 10th, yeah.
Okay, the tenth. So the applications will be received by the tenth,
By the town, but reviewed by the.
but reviewed by the planning commission.
Suzanne, do you want to get me a description of what you want for,
If you have.
we have one? Okay.
All right, so do we have any other discussion?
Just make sure that it's for, we note that it's for 1 year until the next election.
For 1 year till the next election.
Well, because they're really looking for a 4-year person, aren't they?
It's just filling it in, right, but we can't do anything until the next, and they can get voted in for the next election.
Okay, so we have the motion as we would like it. Do we have, and would, all in favor? I believe it was already seconded.
Okay,
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Okay, then we got another change here, so. Tom. Let's see, Tom Hargy and Annette Valani are representatives on the Conservation Committee. They're alternates, not 4-year members. So just so we know that that is,
1 year.
they're 1-year alternates. Yeah, no, not 4 years. So that'll get ratified, and then we have. Zachary Burdick,
Do we want motions on all these as we go along, so we get?
or we can just ratify them all at once at the end.
Okay.
okay,
A motion for Zachary Burdick, who's actually the chair of the Northwest Communications Unified District, and make Jamie the alternate. So are you okay with?
Yeah,
Let's do
Yeah.
the swap.
I haven't
He's
heard
been the chair for
anything,
a
yeah,
while.
right, yeah, that's fine.
So it's just putting him in place with Jeff
Yeah.
Hathaway. Yep, so that's all the changes I have. So if we want to,
I move the changes as presented by our administrator.
do we have a second?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Subcommittee action.
Is this something that we can push next week? Just to consolidate?
I about well, we just had a discussion about subcommittees in regards to.
The only reason I ask is because we still have to appoint a fifth member. And we can use a fifth member when we're assigning subcommittees.
That
That sounds,
sounds fair. Will you still be able to, would you still be able to do your, job with the hard act pool and that funding? If we don't have a full committee?
Think, I think it would be helpful to have a second person doing that with me.
Mhm.
So that could be, maybe if we could just do that one thing.
Suzanne?
You can appoint other people off of your board to be on your committee.
So maybe, maybe not fill all the committees, but at least to make sure that any critical things, committees that need to get their job done, maybe like add somebody on the board, or assign some people from the board to them. So it sounds, in particular, would this be the one in charge of rec we're talking about here? And so you're the only one on it right now. So do we have anybody who would be willing to help out with that?
So, question,
Mhm.
you have been working with Bridget,
Correct.
so we don't need to be on the board to be on the committee.
Right, and the only reason why I sought Bridget's expertise is because she already does public events and planning around budgets and things like that. It seemed like a logical person to seek information from for planning something for the town. I mean, she already does. I mean, it's not, it's more community organization that she does.
And would Bridget be willing to serve on the committee if we asked her?
Maybe.
Bridget, you there? Carl, you had something you wanted to say?
I was just gonna say, if we're looking for another board person to be on this committee, at least for short term, I would be happy to be that person.
Okay. Frank,
Be happy to volunteer for that committee.
you'd be happy to volunteer for that committee as well.
Sorry, I had a hard time unmuting, but I'm unmuted now. I
So,
would be happy
Bridget,
to
we're
serve on
trying-
the committee.
You'd be happy to do that? All right.
Yes.
So, it sounds like Bridget would be willing to help you with that, and she is the person that you would like to have help you. So why don't, in order to get this done, we, vote to put.
And we're in understanding that this has to like happen soon, right? Cause I think it's April 1st that was made, so, okay.
So we will make a motion to appoint Bridget to the rec subcommittee. And then we can put off to later the rest of them.
Sure.
Until we have somebody filling the position.
What about Carl? He said he'd help too.
Yeah, yes, he did. If we needed somebody, he said.
We don't necessarily need to keep it at 2.
No,
No.
I don't know if we need to. So Carl, would you like to also be on that committee?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well, then
We have three.
Yeah.
we have 3. And so let's us,
Only 2 board members, right?
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes,
so,
2 to keep it under that
That's right.
quorum.
so vote to, motion, do we have a motion to appoint Carl and Bridget to the rec subcommittee?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So that being done, do we, let's,
You wanna push the subcommittee action off to the next agenda?
we need to make a motion for that? Cheryl? Would that be something that we need to make a motion for?
I would say yes, because it's on the agenda.
Okay, then Jamie, would you like to make a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to push the subcommittee action to the next agenda for the 10th, is it?
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, trails policy review.
same thing. We move trails policy review to the next meeting.
All right.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Purchasing policy review.
We're moving that one too. I'll make a motion.
Do you want to do it all?
Sorry.
You want to do it? Okay.
We'll just go through and see what we're moving. So we can-
That's a fair request. So this would be do we have a motion to move the purchasing policy and the fitness platform to our next meeting on the 10th?
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, So we are now on approving the name of the approval of road name.
That would be done.
Right.
So you should have this in your packet. This is for the subdivision, the Rooney subdivision right across the fire station. We have a building permit in right now, so we need a road name. Should have been done when they did that. But the road name they put in was Radhart Drive, which is, my understanding is Gaelic for beautiful. It's been approved by 911, and I would just need an approval by the select board in order to have that go forward.
So move.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Repeat that, we can't hear it over here.
Oh,
It was a road name.
What was the?
Rad,
Radhart,
Radharc.
Irish for beautiful.
Gaelic.
Gaelic.
I apologize for any Britannian folks, and that was my mistake. All right. So would we like to move up would we like to, out of respect to Doug's time?
Yeah, can we just tell me who did the motion and the second on that?
I did the motion.
And the second?
Jamie.
Okay, so Doug, out of respect for your time, let's move the I would like to make a motion to move transparency, town paper, TV coverage and website up next in our agenda. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so Doug, you have a presentation about our website.
Yes, so in your packet, I put in. So in your packet, I put in 3 website options. So as we've been kind of continuing the updates to our current website, which is very dated. We have a static page, trying to make it more responsive, so it's available across other platforms. We also changed and added a YouTube video selection to the website as well. So any of the Zoom meetings can now be put on the YouTube, since Zoom couldn't figure out that process to make that work. But during that correspondence with, that's our first one, which is Catalyst, is who we currently use. They're having a major price increase. So we signed the agreement with them in August, which was $840 for the website for the year. So next August, that same site is going to cost us $6,000 in year 1, $6,300 year 2, $6,700 year 3, and $7,100 in year 4. So in looking at it, that prompted me to start looking at other options. We had previously looked at this when I was on the board previously. The issue then was the other sites were so much more than ours. We decided to stay with what we currently had for now. Now we're in a different position. So being that this price is going to automatically go into effect, even if we don't make any change to our site in August, and a new website is going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to build. We need to kind of act now, otherwise you're going to get hit with a $6,000 bill in August.
Right.
I went through with Catalyst. Their new websites, I would not recommend going to them. Their menu system's not very good. They don't really do a lot of stuff. For the price, the other two I think are much better. Looking at the other project, the other two that I presented, Revise. Revise currently does St. Albans Town's website. They do a decent municipality website. They're a little bit different. They've built their websites from the ground up. So they have a little bit more control over their back end, but their flexibility isn't as good, I think, as the other version. Their cost wise is a little bit more. It's not more than the other one. They're all cheaper than the other one. So here we're looking at the custom websites about $3,000 a year, I think it was.
3,610.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
the-
that's per year. Yeah. So they have a lot of upfront costs.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's $1,800 a year, but we wouldn't see that price until year 4. And honestly, in year 4, who knows what's going to end up happening with what that price is going to look like in year 4.
but you're looking at $3,600 a year for their site.
Which one is that?
Revised.
Revised?
Yeah,
What's the 9,000? That says grand total for the first year of a 4-year agreement?
yeah, but if you look, so you could pay the 9,000 all up front and then
Okay,
pay
or-
1,800 a year, or they have a breakout plan. I figured for comparison, the breakout plan is better to look at, because the other ones, it's all included in their monthly anyway. So they have, it's a much better site than what we currently have. It has a lot of options. The one I'm recommending is Civic.
Does Milton use that one?
Milton uses
Yeah.
Civic. And it's the site that last time when I looked at this, it was the site I was gonna go with. Civic's a little different. They tend to buy a lot of different companies and put their site together, so I think they have a better end product because these companies had all developed their portion. They're a little bit more expensive than Revise, but their expandability is a lot better. So eventually, if you put in a full functioning rec department, for instance, they have a rec program, so you can have people sign up, you can take their fees, you can do all your scheduling for the entire rec program. Milton actually uses this in their program.
So question, this says they up to 150 pages of content migration, like,
Yep.
does that fall within what we have
Yeah.
to, okay,
Yeah, their system is built a lot different. They, for instance, their zoning portal on this is just absolutely amazing. Like, we can put all of our building permits up, we can have everything that's, all the information on there, so everybody can kind of go through and see everything. Their navigation systems through the website is much better. The other portion of this is this meeting and agenda management solution. So this is a separate standalone product, and nobody on the market that I've seen has anything like this. If you're talking about transparency and about minutes, this is pretty incredible. So they've basically taken your entire meeting agendas from putting packets together into one simplified page. So on that page, you have your minutes, you have your agendas, your minutes, the video. They break the video down into time segments for you, so that if you're just looking for a certain part of the minutes, the meeting, you just click on that, it takes you there. Your minutes would be posted online when the meeting's done. The way they do it, it's a lot of click actions.
sure.
So I'm not sure how much, honestly, how much a clerk is gonna be needed. Because the way the system runs, it's gonna be a lot faster. And even the minute portion of it, the way they've designed it with basically click buttons and quick, just fill in notes. It's automatically online, so it's pretty impressive.
So if we approve this tonight, you would have them start to build the site to be ready for August 1st.
That's what we would shoot for. It's gonna be a tight time frame.
Yeah, the earlier the better, because you never know what's gonna pop up.
But it sounds like you also wanted to choose between Revise or
Civic.
Yeah, I mean, there is some cost difference there. I'm just thinking expandability. Civic is what I would recommend, especially if you're looking at doing the recreation portion. And like I said, some of the stuff that Civic offers, for instance, if the community wanted to know every time you did a select board meeting, they can put their information in, they can click to have it text to them or email to them. And every time you guys post an agenda, they automatically get a text or an email saying the meeting's at this time.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but definitely looking at the Milton page, there's a lot of integration. That's amazing.
So you would be fine going with the Civic.
Yeah, they just the way they organize their data
You
is
wouldn't
really
need any time to look over them. Okay.
I was researching it too.
Okay. All right.
And I move we approve
Mhm.
Doug's recommendation and go with the civic proposal.
Yeah.
And get them on board as quickly as
So
possible.
just one more clarification. So it's this, which one are we doing? Is this
So
the
you wanna-
ultimate? Which
You want to do the ultimate
Okay.
just because the add-ons are a little bit different, but then this other one, the cost on the other one, I think I put the sheet in there. So that's the website functionality. To add in this website management was
So 4389 annually.
It's not perfect. I'm right here. That's the add-on. 3,600 a year.
3,600.
Yeah.
And what optional items are included in that? Do we know?
This is kind of like, so this is the website. This has everything in it, including, I didn't do any of the extra options. So like if you wanted to add in
Like the parks directory?
the part, yeah, so all of that would be.
Okay.
You see the numbers there, that those are extra add-ons that you could do down the road. Right now, I would just work on getting the site up and functioning.
Of course, okay.
The
So we can
meeting
add
and
those
agenda
later.
piece is, this is a completely separate.
Sure.
It integrates with the website, but they market it completely separate.
Okay, if we can do it separately after the fact, then that's fine. I'm ready. I'm happy to get the ball rolling.
Right, well, I mean, you could have them build both if you want this portion, I would just do it at the same time. But what I kind of was looking at is, even though it's 3,600, you're a little bit more than what their site is, but the 3,600 versus the possibility of maybe bringing on another employee and being able to shift that around, it's probably worth it. So,
Yeah, I'm happy with your recommendation. Carl is, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. I
Thank
appreciate
you
your work.
for hanging here with us. Thank you, all of you, for hanging here with us.
just one more thing, do you want me to be the point person on this? We should probably have one person, that's up to you guys.
Your project, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Then, yep. By all means, Doug, do you need us to approve that?
That's up to you. Let me pull out the forms. I just need you guys to sign the.
Carl, do you think that?
So did we approve both
make a
of them?
motion to
That's
appoint
fine.
him?
Both of what?
I don't think that's
Both the
necessary.
management and
I agree.
the
Yeah,
civic.
you said it was gonna be,
Another 3,600 for the management. Yeah, did you approve both? The meeting and agenda software and the website?
That's what I thought.
yeah, I was happy, like, if that's fine with me. So what's the total?
So you're at, well, one's 3,600 and the other is 4,758. I think is the right number.
And that's just for the first year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you. I'll grab the sheets for you to sign.
Sure.
now I need to find my agenda again. It got lost somewhere here. Here it is. All right, do we have any action that we would like to make on the town paper?
I say these are all those ones.
Yeah.
Different than what we had before.
No, it's the
The
same.
options are kind of the same.
Right now, it's messenger, right now.
Yeah, and there's nothing, I've reached out to a few others, some got back, some didn't, and it's not gonna be any different than what we've got now.
Just two.
7 days is still not any different, they're still only coming
7
in.
days you can pick up all around town for free. The St. Albans Messenger you can't.
Look into 7 days. Okay.
And maybe even like, maybe speak to them and see if there's different or additional drop
I'd
offs.
be happy to do that. I don't know if we need a motion for that. I'll look into.
Well,
7
does
days.
that take the messenger out of it then, or?
It's just, I mean, yes, it means that we would be using, if
Mhm.
we chose 7 days, it would mean we would use 7 days as our town paper. So any announcements that we would make would go 7 days and not through the same.
7 days online.
Yes,
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 and free, and there's no paywall.
yeah,
There's no what?
there's no
Paywall.
paywall, you don't have to pay in order to get on to 7 days.
Right, like the Burlington Free Press.
Well, yeah, they also don't do editorials with the free press anymore, so, yeah, so,
So you're gonna look into that?
yes, I will.
So we're not making a motion at this point, we're just saying we're gonna look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll make a motion, move it to next.
yes. So would anybody like this, you made the motion, would anybody like to second it?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
You made the motion.
Made a motion to move it to the next agenda for the 10th.
Okay.
are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see, what else do we have here?
Talks about
TV coverage. I mean, I think really LCA TV is the only thing that we have as an option for this region. So, I think we're done with this.
Well, we didn't go over like Sam, did we move Sam.gov?
Mr. Chair, Yes,
I believe half of your coverage is done from St. Albans cable, or public access, excuse me, at least that's the way it used to be.
Northwest Public Access. Okay, and it was, Tony,
You jumped over C, trails policy.
we moved it to the next.
The next meeting.
Yeah, no, to the next item.
Meeting.
Oh,
No,
did we
the
move it to the next
meeting.
meeting?
I moved
Yes.
it to that meeting.
Yes, we moved that, we used purchasing policy to the next meeting, and we also moved fitness platform to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He did.
So we have the stormwater. F.
So our next thing is stormwater,
So that was on the warrant. So you.
Okay, so we're good.
so that's
Yeah.
good. So the next thing is appoint library member. And so is that something that Bridget is is here to discuss?
You have the appointment letter in here.
We have the appointment letter.
They open them. So you just need somebody to.
Would somebody read that for us?
Anybody find it yet?
May I help? This is Bridget speaking.
Hey, Bridget.
Hey, so we are asking you to appoint Margot Vanskoy to the position of library trustee for 1 year, please.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion? To appoint Margot Vanskoy? Vanskoy, thank you, to the, what was the position?
Library.
Trustee, library trustee for 1 year.
Second.
Shannon made the motion, Carl seconded. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. All right. Appointing of a healthcare officer and deputy healthcare officer. Do we have applicants for that?
So Colleen Paspers, has offered to do the health officer, appointment. I just need a deputy health officer.
Okay, I have been told that members of the board can do that. I personally am going to try to avoid any paid position. But if any of you feel differently.
Who did it previously?
So Amber did it and Emily did it.
Okay. So we have Colleen.
Colleen is the zoning administrator.
Yeah.
Assistant, and she said she would do it. So we just need one other person.
Should we? I mean, should we put it out?
Yes, we can ask.
We should ask if somebody is
Mhm.
interested.
Okay. And so we will, then the motion would be to appoint Colleen
Mhm.
Counselor,
to
yeah.
the health officer, and then we will ask, we'll make, and we'll ask around to see.
So let's
Deputy.
put it on the website to, you know, we can put another notice out looking for a deputy health officer.
Yeah.
Until the 10th.
Until the 10th.
That's our next
Aren't these
meeting.
open until?
That's our next meeting.
Okay.
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Rec director, grant writer, job description. I'm assuming Shannon, that's your show.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back to the point that I was saying earlier that I would like to make a motion to create a committee of one select board member, Bridget, maybe members of our current rec committee and any interested community members to discuss ARPA and rec futures. Then that committee can then field ideas, organize a job description, and then present it to the board so that there is community input. and that we're kind of bridging the select board, the library, who's already a community organizer. We can then input for the ARPA money, which I think needs to happen. I've looked at other towns who, when they received the ARPA money, created an ARPA committee. And I felt like those, that process seemed to be pretty fluid in terms of fielding ideas, presenting to the board, getting those budgets organized by the board and other town members, and then projects implemented. And it seemed like people responded well to that. So I thought that that might be something that we could do in terms of ARPA and our rec futures.
What about the grant part?
I was just curious, I mean, we did have a description, if I had in my packet here, that seemed to meet everybody's expectations, okay? So what's the reason for changing the job description at this point in time? And in being totally transparent, one of the people you want on this committee to review this policy has already been an applicant for this job, okay? And it just seems that we're rewriting it to tailor it for somebody. That's my concern.
Yes,
Okay.
I want to respond to that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought, but what has been pointed out is that, okay, so we had called the people who had applied and only one person was still able to be interviewed, and that person, I'm not sure who it is, and I don't think that was one of our front runners. And we also wanted to make sure that the posting clearly stated that the person would be a grant writer as well, and that wasn't at the forefront of the previous job posting. And also the way that it was written, it's come up that ARPA cannot be used for bonuses, and that there was a concern that the wording of the payment for the job description might be violating ARPA rules. And so we wanted to then maybe look into not having that part of that, so we don't violate any ARPA rules.
And we got this from legal counsel?
Yes, VLCT.
VLCT.
Yeah.
Okay, but from our own legal counsel on this?
I have never spoken to our attorney. I didn't really know the attorney's name until tonight, so
I think that we would have.
there
to-
is an attorney on
I think that
VLCT.
we would have to give you permission to reach out to the attorney.
Right.
On your own initiative on
Mhm.
behalf of the board.
Yeah,
So we could definitely, if that is something that you would like to pursue, we can.
Yeah, because I'm concerned that when this whole thing was proposed, that the major thing in this whole thing really was the interest of the whole community, that we get a recreation department and a rec program going. And that we put it together with grant writing, but the major emphasis was somebody that could put a recreation program, you know,
I am fully
together
on board.
and to manage it and to participate and be the spark plug to get that thing going. So
Absolutely.
that's my
Yeah.
recollection. And I'm concerned that we seem to be changing direction, and obviously I'm concerned. I'm telling you, so I don't, I'm certainly not gonna go ahead and anyway. Enough said at this point.
Well, let's chat with the lawyer,
Mhm.
because I think in the last meeting we had, like, there was concern about like not enough focus on the grant writing, so that we can get those funds coming in to help push on this stuff. But that's what I also recollect that, but I think the next step is obviously the lawyer, and then to answer or to see what Frank would like to say.
Yeah, I just want to put it out that I'm fully on board for the rec part.
Okay,
I am not trying to dispel that.
my recollection is I have in a packet here, and I think there were at least 4 people that had applied for this job. Cheryl, is that right? Those applications you gave me were
Excuse me?
from 4 different people for the rec director? I think that's what I had in my packet.
We had quite a few that applied for rec director.
Correct. So you were
These are all-
saying we don't
these are all
really have
right,
anybody,
right,
or that
Sorry,
our
she,
front runner, our front
Yeah.
runners are not producing or something. I don't know who made people front runners also, and I'm concerned about. Okay, right, so, I mean, that sounds like somebody's predetermined who the rec director is gonna be. That's my concern.
sorry, she
Okay.
presented me with a folder of applicants.
Mhm.
And I said, great, let's move forward with reaching out. And she said that everybody dropped out except for one person, and I don't know that person's name. But it wasn't somebody that we had thought, there was some people who didn't have any experience at all, and who just, it sounded like a great idea.
So we
So-
had 4 candidates
Mhm.
that were
Okay.
given to me to call. And one had already accepted a position.
Mhm.
One was out of state. Then the other one, after he thought about it, decided it wasn't. So I think it was 3 that we had that you had given me to call, that to make appointments for. Out of the selection.
All right. So are we still, that advertisement is still up or not? We're still
Yes, I believe
accepting
the advertisement is still up on, well, it's not up on Indeed any longer. Because it was costing us a fortune. But it's still up on VLCT and I believe it's still up on our website. So
So we have a few questions. I'm sorry, I didn't see who came first. Was that Heather and then Frank?
Yeah, I had a question, kind of concerned as well. If this committee is gonna be formed, I think it needs to be of community members. So
Yes.
That was who it was, yeah.
people who live in Georgia.
Yeah.
And the librarian doesn't live in Georgia.
Okay,
Okay,
note taken.
Frank?
VLCT is your insurance carrier?
No.
they're, passive is our insurance carrier, but it's all through VLCT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vermont,
So
see,
if-
they
if
offer, they
VLCT
offer.
Says you have to, that your job description is inappropriate, then you gotta rewrite it anyways, right?
Yeah, but the attorney actually looked at the job description, our town attorney. So our town attorney actually overrules VLCT. Because our town attorney is gonna be the one standing up for us in court.
Well,
The town attorney has looked at this job description and put in their edits on it, and we edited it to what they suggested be in this job description.
I guess to add on that, the town attorney will give us extra advice to cover our butts.
Right.
But VLTC will give, CT will give us the, tell us what it is we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Yes,
What point in this process of hiring a director are you going to do a background check? Because in this day and age, you need to make sure that they can pass the background check. They're going to be working with our young people.
I don't think that we are legally able to, this is just my experience from church work, but I don't think we're legally able to hire anybody unless they have to work with kids and if they have a background check.
But wouldn't, it would, I don't know if you can legally do it. Look at that when you look at the candidates before you even interview, because it would be a waste of time to interview somebody who suddenly didn't pass a background check.
In my experience, normally you do the background check after you've selected it, you've identified you're interested.
Then you may have to go back to.
Yeah,
Or you just make sure that that's in the job description there that must pass.
I mean, it's usually better to be like, okay, this person seems good. I'll do a background check on them than to say, okay, we're just gonna do a background check on everybody.
Yeah.
So usually that, in my experience, that's how it works. And everybody's nodding, so I'm assuming I'm right.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's
Yeah.
a condition of employment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make the offer
But you
contingent on passing background check.
Yes,
Just, I heard you guys talking about ARPA, but my recollection, and we might want to double check this, was the way we took the ARPA money was different. So that you could use that ARPA money however you saw fit. It was something to do with the way you accepted the ARPA money. I
okay,
think either we accepted a lesser amount or something to do with the way we accepted it, but you might want to just check into that before you.
I think that fits into the motion that you were making, that we give Shannon the approval to approach our attorneys. Or maybe you didn't make that motion, I
I
apologize.
think we talked about it.
The suggested motion that you made that would give Shannon approval to approach our attorneys in relationship to this.
Before she does, then we should get what that term is. I agree with Doug.
Do you have any information?
We went,
Yeah.
we
It did.
got a little less money, but we had more freedom.
You had more freedom.
Which I definitely knew there was two different like stipulations.
So we need to get that term.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, how do we find that?
So, well, I imagine that it's in our records.
Okay.
So it
Well-
sounds like what's being proposed is that we look into what our ARPA stipulations are, before we move forward on this.
So guys, we need to appoint an ARPA fund manager.
Yes.
That's a separate issue on this though, but I'm sorry. go ahead.
Right, but I'm just saying, so maybe that person that's the manager on this can actually get all the information
Good to go.
and bring it back to the board, so we don't have multiple people calling
All right.
the attorney.
So,
Does it-
no, I was saying maybe we should, move this into the ARPA fund manager, or.
Well, we'll let her follow up on
Let her,
the conversation with the attorney.
Yeah.
Once we get the proper term. of-
Right.
Of how our ARPA money is structured.
So should we not assign an ARPA manager till next session?
No, we need
No,
We
to,
need to.
we need to.
All right.
But that's sort of separate from
Sure.
what we're talking here. That's what the point I meant.
And my question, was gonna be, do we want to have you're proposing a subcommittee, do we want a subcommittee for ARPA and the rec director and the, grant writer all in one? That.
I think the purpose of the ARPA fund manager is not necessarily related to the rec thing.
Right,
The overall money.
Right.
We've spent a certain amount, almost half, I think, of the ARPA money to reduce our budget this year for one. So, but we need somebody that on paper anyway, I don't know how much involvement there is with this person. You could probably fill us in there. Did Carolyn really have a big job to do there? Or was just pretty much a person to pass information through or paperwork through?
Right, but there's reporting coming due,
Mhm.
the expenditure report on the 30th of April. And so Amber would like someone else working on this report with her.
Okay,
All right,
so we need to appoint.
We need to
ARPA
appoint an
fund
ARPA fund manager.
manager.
so, let's, make
Does
a
it
vote.
have to be a board member? It was a
She
board.
just said the select board will need to determine who will do ARPA and all other reporting moving forward. So this, once she is done, this person is gonna be responsible for all of ARPA reporting and getting that to them.
Maybe,
So,
maybe that should be the treasurer. Should that be
Well, it
the,
would be once we have a treasurer.
Right.
right, but
Yeah.
we don't have a treasurer yet, so
Well, we need somebody, right,
Annual basis, right?
right,
I can work with Amber until she's no longer here.
okay, so you'll step up to town meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so,
I move we appoint, sorry, do you want a motion?
yeah, please,
I move we appoint Jamie as the ARPA fund manager.
I will second. All in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
So now that we have a manager, we can figure out what the stipulations are
Mhm.
for our ARPA money, and then we can see about giving you permission to approach the lawyer in regards to what you're doing. Suzanne, yes.
It keeps being brought up that the rec director, grant writer job description was approved by the board, but it wasn't approved by this board.
Mhm.
So if this board chooses to pull that back and rewrite it, I don't see a problem with it, and I don't think you need a lawyer to okay that. I think what the board wants from this person.
I think the.
Down, having a committee of townspeople weigh in on that. It might be a good thing.
Heather, right?
I think that's a very valid point, but I also think that we want this to move forward and we don't want to keep stalling it and have the entire year go by. So we want to get this on the table and going so we can have a rec director and we can get this going. So I think any more stalling is just going to create this to keep moving down to the next meeting.
Yes, and I don't have your name yet, Betty.
I think the basis that the town voted on this was on the plan that was previously done, and that's what the town voted on. And maybe that's what we ought to go on with.
We didn't vote on that.
Voted on the
Most
budget.
townspeople have not seen it, so I don't think they voted on it.
Just to address, I think asking the lawyer is specifically just about the pay matrix.
Right.
But anything else, I think that, a committee of, somebody from the select board, interested community members, the rec committee, that we can move forward with. Okay, Heather?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, are you happy as far as the rec director grant description item is concerned? For now, do you still have any motions or anything to discuss on that?
So we're taking it to the lawyer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you
So
for
we're not
that
taking
committee?
any action.
Is it
Yes.
already gonna work on the job description?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, yep.
All right, so the opioid settlement, so the lawyers currently are.
Sorry, we have to set. we have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Take a motion.
Oh,
What?
Well, we also,
Yeah,
Do we wanna kind of start with the
Yes.
committee, start deciding and committee and then decide a date?
yes, yeah, yep.
yes,
Maybe I missed it, but last meeting, there was a discussion about committees and Susanna said, you can't do it, and, you know, and you guys were gonna go find out.
Yeah, we did.
we did.
Whether a task force was
So-
okay. or-
We don't need task force, we're actually okay with committees.
so with a board of 5,
Too
we
bad the
can,
task
we can
force-
have 2 select board members on a committee without it
Work on
having,
something, bring it-
without it having to be an open meeting.
Yep, perfect.
I just didn't know, I missed.
But it was a very, very
The
confusing
letter
thing
we
for
got
us, I guess.
said it.
So,
Now?
do we want,
We thought-
I mean, you can assign more people
I
to
sent
it,
you
but-
his emails. We
No,
had to
but we
err
just-
on the side of caution because of the Windsor lawsuit. So that, I sent you those emails.
I'll review those, but, well, I mean, I am hearing that we're good with 2 people.
we do have a question,
Yep,
Are
Frank.
you gonna form a committee now?
Yes, I'd
Okay.
like to, yes.
and, I mean, this one has more than 2 people, so it'll be warmed. So this is a committee for the rec director.
So what I'd like for it to be is, the rec director and Georgia rec in general, and how to use the funds specifically allocated for that.
Okay,
So it's not all of ARPA funding, it's just specifically for the rec.
okay, do we have
Department.
a second to that motion?
I'm sorry. I
Or do we need to
misunderstood
clarify the motion?
What is the
Was to
motion?
form a committee.
Yes, we need to find people who want to be on
So
the
who's the
committee.
committee chair?
Shannon
Yeah,
would be the committee chair.
So from what I've just heard, Bridget can't be on your committee because she's not a Georgia resident.
I don't know,
I don't
can
know.
employees be? She's a Georgia employee and she's
Yeah.
part of the community.
Yeah, I think that I don't see the reason why not being a Georgia resident
Right.
should exclude you, but I do
Right.
think that we should be trying to fill it with Georgia residents.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
My thought about adding Bridget was that she's already a community organizer and she has experience with some of the things like the grant writing. Has gotten so many grants for the library and that she is already organizing in that capacity. And that's an asset for us because unless somebody else is a grant writer, maybe Heather is.
So is she volunteer your time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not
So
paid?
it's just a rec, so it'd be people who are already on the rec committee. If they'd like to join us. 1 select board member. Any interested community members. Right, without it getting to be a billion people, not that a billion people.
So do you want to just kind of get a committee going and then have
Yes.
it be an open meeting?
Yes,
So everybody can join?
yep, absolutely.
okay.
But if it's a subcommittee, we should have two
Sure.
people, 2 board members.
Yeah, and you said you expressed interest on doing that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Okay, and so the motion is there a way in which we can make this motion?
So how do we want to get people like on the committee and then obviously we'll warn for people to come to the meeting?
Mhm.
I think that we should make an announcement the same way we would with any open position.
Yeah.
Okay, is that
Okay,
Okay,
and then we'll approve them at the next
so
meeting.
we'll put a notice on the website.
Yes.
Okay, we got a hand.
Yes,
So regarding the committees and whether it has to be warned or not. You had emailed me on the 15th and it says, hey, Ken, I heard from the folks at VLCT. And they informed us this, we will seek a different way to go over the warrants.
yes, that was definitely a moment where I was confused. And so where did you get your information from? It was also from VLCT?
From an attorney at VLCT.
Okay. Okay, I will double check the folks that I heard
I
from
also-
VLCT.
I also forwarded you a note from the Secretary of State.
Yes,
And as I understood it. If you have a committee of two, it has to be warned.
it's for. I also looked at the Secretary of State's site, and there are certain issues, there are certain functions that subcommittees are doing, that subcommittees do where they do not need to go through those motions. So if you're doing something like bookkeeping, if you're doing something like checking the warrants, that is not something, or if you're doing something like union negotiations, you don't need a subcommittee to warn. Susanna.
I also asked the LCT and the Secretary of State. So if it's a public body, it's subject to open meeting law. This is, I'm gonna read this. The aspect of this analysis is a bit gray, whether you are in fact creating a subcommittee. Ask a number less than a quorum of its members to investigate a narrow topic or subject and report back their findings, then that is not considered a subcommittee and not subject to open meeting law. If it is a working group and they have formed a subcommittee to continuously do some task, then they are subject to open meeting law. So it all depends on whether you're saying, Shannon, you can go talk to the lawyer. It's a one-time thing. She could take Carl with her, and that's fine. But if you're forming a group to do something over a long period of time, it is a subcommittee. And you
Needs to be
follow
open meeting law. So it sounds like in particular for this, what Shannon wanted to do was a subcommittee anyways, because she wants it to be open to subject to open meeting law. In regards to the previous committees such as the rec, maybe we should change that into a working group. And would that be something that we need to make a motion for? I think it probably would be.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do your subcommittee first then.
Okay,
And so all in favor of the ARPA rec?
I thought we were-
futures.
Oh,
Were we separating those? The ARPA and the rec?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
let's do rec.
all in favor of the rec director subcommittee? Would somebody be willing to make a motion for that? Shannon Woods, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I-
Aye. Okay. All opposed? All right.
I abstain.
Okay. So that passes. In regards to the subcommittee action. Would somebody like to make a motion to reclassify our subcommittees as task, not task?
Should we, we pushed that to next agenda.
We want to push that to next agenda.
I think that we already
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
That would be good.
let's do it.
That would be
Yeah,
good?
let's do it.
Okay. So the opioid settlement. Our attorneys are looking over the opioid settlements to give us a report and plan on giving us a written report on whether or not that would benefit us as a small municipality. And to give us an understanding of what the money would be applicable for, should we get it. The attorney met with our attorneys met with the Attorney General today to ask those particular questions. From what they told me, they would like to get as many municipalities on board with this settlement as possible. But at this point in time, they do not have a written report for us.
So we're gonna move that one over too, until we have more information.
Well, so here's the thing. we need to make a decision on this by April 18th. We definitely will have a little bit of time by the next, by our next meeting.
Are they gonna have?
They'll have the written report to us hopefully by this week.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that it, I believe Amber would be the one making, submitting it. In order to give her time, we might need to we might want to consider doing a special meeting if we need to. But that is a question that I leave to all of you.
So we're waiting for the lawyers to get back to us with information, and then we want Amber to kind of go over it and then submit it to the Attorney General.
Yes, essentially. Carl.
Are there legal costs that we incur, like some signing up for this? I think that should be one of our questions.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, it would seem like there, obviously, lawyers can be involved in this whole thing. And are they trying to spread the costs of the legal fees to all municipalities that participate? I don't know. So we should find that out.
Yeah, we should definitely ask the lawyers that.
Okay, I don't, okay, I mean, no reason not to clarify.
So who's going to ask these questions of the lawyer?
I've been point on this so far, so I'd be happy to do that. Yes, but
How much money are you talking about? Does it change depending on how many towns sign up, et cetera, et cetera?
that would be, again, a question to ask. I think that what's happening is that the entire state of Vermont is making this, is involved in the settlement. And the municipalities that are engaged in it will get a piece of the pie, that we can use. We are assuming, as stipulated, because it is in regards to basically selling drugs and.
So this is a settlement of basically there's X amount that they've agreed, that pharmaceutical companies have agreed to pay.
Right.
They're just deciding how to dole it out.
I think that having us sign on to it gives them a little bit more power in making their case, but yes, by signing on, we would be able to get a little, we would have a piece of the pie.
Because my only concern was how much it costs versus how much you get.
Yes, and so the way it's been depicted to me is there's not much of a reason not to. I don't think it's gonna cost us anything to get on board with this thing, but I can definitely confirm. But besides that, there's not much else to add to it, so.
So we want a motion to move it to the 10th. So we'll have more
Or
information.
once we get
Or
the
once
information from the
Once we
lawyer.
get more information, so I think the motion would be that we will address it when we get more information, maybe on the 10th, maybe in a special meeting for that. If that makes sense. And if that's something that you all can do. And the special meeting would have to be warned. All right, would anybody like to make that motion? I should make that motion. I'll make the motion that we move this until we receive more information. And at our next available opportunity to meet.
I second.
All in favor?
Right?
Aye. All right. We did attorney person of contact. This is something that I am requesting, when it has to do more with the way in which I was getting advice after Carolyn resigned her position. The way in which our attorney gives advice, they provide options, guidance. And it doesn't translate well when somebody is relaying it to you. And as a result, there was confusion as we were trying to figure out what to do in announcing the departure. And I would like that we make the select board chair the point of contact for the attorney. This would just mean that instead of asking Cheryl for permission to approach the attorney, you would be asking the select board chair. And also if the attorney has information that they want to give to us, they would be getting in touch with the chair.
In touch with who?
The chair of the select board, that would be me.
Yeah, I guess I would have a problem with that. I believe our administrator should be our primary contact. And obviously you as the chair would have authority to ask questions as well. than any of us if we got permission. But I think our administrator should be able to call the attorney for advice and counsel on day-to-day operations.
And because that is part of her job, she would still retain the ability to call the attorney for advice on day-to-day operations. So that wouldn't be hindered, but in regards to something like somebody resigning from the board, they would get in touch with me with their advice instead of me having to get that advice from somebody else. And I just think that would be more useful. That's my opinion.
I don't see it, but anyway, so.
Yeah.
And you specifically said chair, not just you personally, so it's whoever would be occupying.
It would be whoever's occupying the chair
Yeah.
position.
Cool.
So if I were to step down from chair, it would be somebody else. And so I would like to make a motion that we just change the point of contact for the attorney to be the select board chair.
Who
I
is the
said-
point of contact now?
Cheryl.
But you're saying she won't be the contact if you are the contact person then,
I would be stepping in as the contact person.
and she would be left in.
No, she would still be able to approach it in the capacity of her position as the clerk and the town administrator. Yes.
This is
With
very
the-
confusing. You're gonna be the chair is gonna be the point of contact with the attorney, but Cheryl can contact the attorney anytime she needs to for business. Then she's also the point of contact with the attorney.
So it's about who can.
Who goes to whom for what?
Let me clarify. So, for instance, we were talking about giving Shannon the ability to contact the attorney in regards to the subcommittee. That's something that the board needs to give her permission to do in order for her to be a point of contact. Right now, the default point of contact is Cheryl. We're just changing who the default point of contact is. Because Cheryl already has a job that has a role with the town that requires her to have contact with the attorney, that will not change.
I think that the issue is that once we have a select board clerk, that Cheryl won't be at every meeting, possibly. I mean, she will be in some meetings, but we might not have the information at the meeting from the attorney if our point of contact isn't at the meeting.
Shannon, can I just clarify that?
Yeah.
The administrator comes to every meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The select
I didn't
board-
know
That's,
that.
that's not the reason I'm proposing.
No,
The
okay.
reason
the
I'm
select
proposing
board
this is
only
because
takes minutes. She does not participate in.
the way in which I received information over the last couple of weeks was confusing.
Yes,
And it only was really cleared up once I got in direct contact with the attorney. I think it would be easier for us to make decisions if I didn't have to go through hoops. That's all.
I'm just concerned, I mean, big issue for people that recently ran for the board is transparency. And I see this as essentially bringing down a curtain on a certain level of transparency. So I believe at least two of us should be in contacts with the attorney, for preferably the two people contacting the attorney at the same time.
I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I think that that's what he was proposing, that Devin and Cheryl are the contacts for the attorney.
Well, that's
I'm
not what I
looking
was
for
proposing,
another-
but I'd be fine proposing that it's allowed. Yeah, Fred.
I guess my concern is you said you had difficulty understanding it. So if you're the point of contact, how is Carl gonna understand it if he can't contact the attorney?
The reason I had difficulty understanding is because I wasn't hearing directly from the attorney.
Well, neither would Carl. So I mean, to me, it sounds like you want the direct information, but shouldn't everybody in the board be able to have direct information? So I mean, it comes down to that. Maybe you should have a meeting and call the attorney as a group and have, so everybody has input. To me, having one person to basically have a personal lawyer for the town and nobody else can get direct contact from it, to me, puts everybody else at a disadvantage for getting their legal questions answered concisely to their satisfaction.
Well, I suppose the issue that, as it's been brought up by our attorney, is that we have to, if we are approaching the attorney, we need to be doing so as representatives of the board. As the select board chair, I am a default representative of the board. And so if it was just Cheryl who was getting, Cheryl was getting information and she didn't have to ask for permission. She wouldn't necessarily be represented, she would have access to the attorney without necessarily being selected or with the approval of the board. And so Oh, sorry, Shannon, not Cheryl, I apologize. And so the default person for the attorney to contact, usually, you know, like if all of us were able to just contact the attorney, we still would need a default person that they would call if something popped up. And so I'm just saying it would be easier for me if.
I think it also says in VLCT that it's either the administrator or the chair.
Right.
Like that's
It's
just,
the
it's
administrator,
really
yeah.
not like.
And
huge
so
discussion.
I'm just saying that I think it would be. Because, I mean, the reason, the reason I expressed it. It's easier for me to process I feel it's easier for me to process the information.
So you don't think anybody else needs that same thing?
And I think that I would be sharing the information.
Yeah,
So
it's just,
sharing the information.
She is, but that's the reason why
Change everything when it was working.
it wasn't working. That's the reason why I'm proposing.
How is it not working? You need to
Because,
give specifics.
okay, the specific is this, when Carolyn resigned,
Yes. You
Cheryl
posted it on
called-
Facebook.
right, yes. I received a phone call saying that we needed to have a special meeting before we could post a notice. Which was a little disruptive because I had to call around and see whether or not we could get people available for a special meeting.
That's your job.
Carl was about to go
he's
on
not, I don't think
vacation,
he's complaining about this. He's letting you know the process.
but eventually I called the VLCT, got in touch with their lawyers and discovered that you don't actually need to have a special meeting. They gave me different advice. They said that all you have to do is post the notice. And so I didn't really know what was clear until I actually had the ability to talk to our attorney and learned that what the attorney actually said was that they would suggest us having a special meeting. You don't have to. If you need to make the notice right now, you know, if you need to just put out the notice, do it. And that was a nuance that was not relayed to me.
Can I just say though, you had the email from the attorney that I sent you that he gave me that stated exactly what had to happen and what his suggestions were.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying it wasn't because I said it, I gave you the information that had to go. to the
I'm not
attorney.
blaming you for anything.
Right,
to be
well,
clear.
just to say, it sounded like I
I'm
wasn't
just-
giving you the correct
Right.
information when I actually forwarded you the
Nope,
attorney's
I-
information.
Don't blame you for a thing, but it was only when I talked to the attorney directly that it became clear what we could do. Yeah, Heather.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this completely. So no one in the board should be talking to the lawyer without the direction of the board as a whole, correct?
Right.
So then why would we have to have this as an option? A specific person, when that person shouldn't be speaking to the lawyer without the direction of the rest of the board. Having our town administrator as that person, point person, if the lawyer does need to contact somebody, is she's here, she's in the office, she can be reached immediately, she can be during her business hours, and she can get that information that needs to be to her. If you have specifics saying, Cheryl, if they contact us, we would like to be able to talk to them, so please, you know, pass that information on, or whatever needs to be done in a manner, but I just cannot imagine, and it's not saying you in particular, it's saying that any chair, so if you make this a motion, and that's the way the board's going to run, is from now on, the chair is this point person. It doesn't matter who the chair is. What if there is a person who's in that chair position, who is power hungry and decides they're gonna make all the decisions, they're gonna do everything they want, they're gonna talk to the lawyer when they want to. We're talking about transparency here and making sure that no matter who is in that position, they do not have any extra power than anyone else on the board.
I think that just transfers the risks from one position to another.
Well, it transfers it from somebody who is working here 40 hours a week, somebody who is here all the time and has easier contact than somebody who, you know, you could be out at a different job, you could be ministering and you can't stop what you're doing, you could be on vacation. There's so many different things that could happen. I'm thinking if we have somebody who's a paid employee who's here in this town, we should be using that paid employee.
Sure, that's a fair point. Do I see any other hands?
Right over there.
Yes.
I really think as far as these procedural type decisions, we shouldn't be paying an attorney $200 an hour, which is the going rate that I've been told, if we can consult the Secretary of State for a question like that. There's no reason, the attorney is just rendering an opinion. Secretary of State, they have a whole municipal group that can help you with this stuff for no charge. So I don't see any reason to go to an attorney for procedural type questions. There's other resources that, first of all, are not going to cost the town any money.
Okay, you're talking about in relationship to the filling the select board position.
Oh,
I think just in general.
Just in general, we have.
you know, what you're talking about here is how to procedurally do something. And it always seems to be deferring to the town attorney. Well, $200 an hour goes pretty quick.
Well, no, we use the town attorney when we need legal coverage. Well, the idea is that we don't use the town attorney whenever we have a question, definitely. And so, I mean, what you're trying to say is that this is not a function that we use all the time. That's true.
Seems like,
Yeah, no, I think Ken has a good point that where we can get some advice from Secretary of State, that's fine. But I think it's a separate issue that we're discussing here with Devin versus our administrator and our administrator. Okay, that's all I'm saying is that the primary contact.
I just making a general.
No, I know, I appreciate that. I think we should try to use those resources where we can. But I don't think that was the issue we're really discussing right now. The issue is who the point contact should be.
Betty.
If you're paying an attorney 200 or 200 plus an hour, should it not be a question that is serious enough that it be brought up at a board meeting and the board decide that it will contact the attorney on that particular question? That there really doesn't need to be a point person that can go to the board anytime they feel that they need, the attorney anytime they feel they need to, but it should be an important enough financial decision so that they go to the board and say, we need some legal advice on this. And somebody is appointed to go to the attorney, and it can be the chairperson, or it can be somebody else that happens to be working on the particular problem at the time.
Yes, I think, you know, I am reacting to a situation that occurred that I feel would make my job easier going forward. I personally don't see much of a reason to have a go-between between the board and the lawyer when the board needs legal advice. But you know, you've made some good cases. I'm open to hearing what you all have to say.
So the problem was the whole thing with Carolyn, which we could have answered with the Secretary of State, right?
Well, I mean, I got an answer from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, which was different than what I was,
Yes.
which is free.
Yep, which we've been using.
But and that's what I moved forward with, but because I was getting different advice from our lawyer. And, you know, the first bit of advice was translated from the lawyer. And wanting to make the right decision, I double checked with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and they gave me different advice. And so I had to call our lawyer to double check.
And you had no problem just calling him?
I did call, and once I called him, I was able to figure out that the first advice was a suggestion.
So you were able to do what you want to do by a motion, by putting through a motion, you were already able to do it. I think that the reason that you had the town administrator do it is probably to cover the board members, because it is so expensive to use the where we all know. I mean, they're the only ones that make out when you use them.
Okay.
So if you're instructing the administrator, manager, whoever it is for either town, to contact a lawyer, that's kind of being transparent on, we're spending this money because we all agree we need to spend this money.
Okay.
Not because you just, you know,
Decided.
and I'm just saying, I mean, I
a
mean,
good
you can
point.
take it how you want it, I mean,
That's a good point. Fred, or Frank,
Right.
Fred.
That was one of my points. My second question was, so did our town attorney give the same exact advice the first time as the second time?
I think that the way it was relayed through writing, their writing, the attorney's writing, probably didn't, it didn't translate to us the same way it did the second time.
Did you get a different lawyer?
It was a different, I think, I got 2 lawyers in the office the second time around.
I repeat my statement on the lawyer that we have,
Yeah.
depending upon which type of question you ask and which way
Right.
you want to swing the wind, they'll defend it and get paid for either way they go.
Right, so, you know what, this was, sorry, but.
My second thing is you sound like you want the lawyer as you just have a question as a select board chair and just want to be able to dial up the lawyer and get an answer. My question is you're asking all these other board members to say, yes, you can spend $200 an hour at your whim. When you have a question, because you don't want to ask the whole board to make a motion of it. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds
Well,
like.
as a select board chair, I can call the lawyer whenever I want
I
already.
think, sorry, I just want to clarify that he wanted to be the point of contact if the lawyer needed to
Get in touch with
get in touch
us.
with us. Like, we have union negotiations coming up. We have a few different things about personnel policy, that he wanted to be the point of contact because it is the board making those decisions. What I think might be a good compromise is that if we need to get in touch with the lawyer, if we deem so fit, then we as a board will agree to that we've exhausted all other options. And that at that point, we can say, Cheryl, please contact the lawyer and CC us on all interactions. Is that-
Actually, I think that might be a good compromise, but honestly, I mean, I'm willing to self-reflect. I'm basing this off of an interaction that I had, and maybe it'll go smoother in the future. So I'm actually willing to table this motion and see how things go. And maybe, you know, it won't be a problem going forward.
So we're gonna take no action tonight.
Yeah, well, no, I'm gonna scratch it.
So instead of table, you don't want to table it.
No, I don't want to table it.
That'll come up.
Emotions, you don't take.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we're just, I mean, I'm willing to just scratch
So we're
it.
just moving on.
Yeah,
The next thought.
So that leaves Cheryl as the primary contact.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Amending the town of Georgia's private road and driveway standard, but we have not moved that because it's on the other side. But the motion, but that is one of the things that we've suggested moving to the next meeting.
Can I say-
Yes,
talk for 2 seconds, that's all I wanted was. 2
You have
seconds.
5
All right.
minutes, actually.
We sat down with the fire chief to update our road,
I
requirements,
was there.
road and driveway requirements. So that fire trucks can get to houses to put the fires out. We had a lot of gray areas or some optional things, and so now more things are standard. When somebody builds a house, their driveway has to be a certain width, has to have a certain turn radius on it, so the fire trucks can get through, that kind
At
of
a
stuff.
certain distance from the road.
And so that has been put into the road and driveway document, which the planning commission plans to finalize tomorrow. And then it will be sent to you, and I was just hoping that it could be on your agenda for next meeting to pass that. Because every person who comes in to do a project will need to meet those requirements, and they're not set in stone yet until you finalize that.
Right.
okay, do we need to make a motion for that?
Make a motion to move it to next.
Make a motion.
Meeting.
All right, so then the motion is to amending the town of Georgia private roads and driveway standards to the 10th.
Yes.
Second, I guess I made the motion.
Well, somebody made the motion. I thought you did.
Well, we needed to make a motion.
Cheryl says you made the motion. Question, yes.
Is that gonna pertain to existing roads or just new?
Just new builds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and so,
Who made the motion?
I'll make a motion to move it to the 10th.
okay, you seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. We did website action under transparency. Road agreement action, is that what we just,
So we
Yeah.
did that, one, yeah, we did the.
That's what we just did.
Yeah, the only thing is,
subcommittees and reports?
yeah, and you have
um,
treasurer reports that Amber emailed everybody,
Okay,
so you should all have that.
and do we need to do anything like approve that?
You can just look at it, it's just informational for you.
All right,
Can we get a print off on that? Wow.
I think I have a printout.
You give it down to me.
Yeah, I'll print out another one. It's fine.
Okay.
so do we have any other, it sounds like we can just move on with this from that. Do we have any other, do we have, I say this tongue in cheek, do we have any other issue, items to discuss?
No, just the rest of the one from executive.
Okay, and so our next planning the next meeting, for Monday, April 10th, 2023. We're all good with that,
Yeah,
so we are fine with, we're not,
oh, we have a question.
oh, sorry.
You missed it, but were there any motions out of executive session tonight?
We did make a motion out of the executive session in regards to an office matter. And that should be in the records. Do we need to repeat it?
If you made a motion out of executive session, it has to be in public regime.
Okay.
Don't you have to do
Yeah,
that in
that's
front of the people that are here?
Yeah.
So you can afford a simple party, when you came out of executive session,
We can do
the
that.
meeting started and the people were all there doing.
Yep, so no, I mean, we can read the statement. And so, let's see, no. Right. The request was made that we read the statement, let us do that. So the statement was, the select board of the town of Georgia, Vermont formally affirms that the statements made to Cheryl Letourneau by a member of the select board on the 23rd were not approved by the board or reflect the board's opinion of her job performance. We understand that elected representatives and employees of the town may disagree about the town's operations, but we recognize that members of the board must set an example by expressing themselves in a professional manner. We affirm that the interaction on the 23rd was not approved by and did not fall in line with the expected conduct of the board.
I move the statement that was just read. I think that's what I did out of.
Yep, and I second
Yeah.
it.
And then we seconded it and we all approved.
Can you say aye again?
I don't think so. It was just a request that we state,
Yeah.
that we stated for the record, again. And so. With that being said, the next point of the, next action item is to finish off what we have in the executive session. Do we need to, make a motion to move into executive session?
Make a motion to move into executive session to discuss issues relevant to personnel and openings that we're trying to fill, where premature disclosure may be detrimental to the individuals and or the board itself.
I second.
All in favor? All right, then let us give us a little, but take a little bit. Are we going in with anybody?
With myself.
With Cheryl. Going in. Thank you, Todd.
You second that, right?
I did. Like that, before we finish.
Right.
Holding on to the chair.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Todd.
Do you need help? I'll help
I
you.
think, no, I just rigor mortis.
Great, thank you.
You're not.